Hey, man.
How's kicker competition going? How's the freshman look, Starzik, and Coach mentioned trying to put pressure on him a little bit. How's that going?
You know, we've we'll go back to the spring. He had a good spring. Like I said, a great spring. He did well over in the practice fields, not as well in the game situations, but you know, the first 2 days, the third day, today was our first day to do live field goals. He made them all, so that was a good start. And then our charting part that we do over here at the stadium, when everybody else is over there practicing, he's done really well there as well. And you know, I think I'm pleased where he's at. He's young, so you know how freshmen are going to react. But I think his personality is a lot like Cam Little's. You know, so I'm excited about him. And the most important thing for him is just make field goals this year. You know. But as far as the situations, we haven't started that yet. But I think what you're going to see with Pitt is he's just in the middle of practice. He's going to say field goals up, have him kick a long field goal, a short field goal. Just try to put some pressure on him like that, which is always good. Anytime the attention's brought to you, I think it's big. And what I'm trying to do in our charting session when nobody else is here, I'm going, all right, we've got Texas A&M at home, second quarter, 4 minutes to go. Just situations like that to get them thinking, you know.
Is Starzik the guy? I mean, have you guys
well,
kind of
I mean,
zeroed in?
we always compete. We're trying, you know, letting Blake Ford compete. I think Blake's, you know, transferred back here from North Texas. Charlie Vondermeeden's here. We're letting them compete. So, you know, I think after camp we'll make that for sure decision. But I think Scott's in a good place coming out of spring.
Return game, have you guys spent a lot of time on that? And how is Shanks looking? How's Rodney looking? Anybody else competing for return
you know,
jobs?
at punt returner, I'm trying to think, we have Mega Blake, which is back there working a little bit, and also Sharp's back there working. But I mean, I think Cam will be our guy at the end of the day. But all three of those guys have kind of stood out to me. Kickoff return, of course, Rodney Hill, I think he's had a really good spring, really good camp. And I kind of the batting kid, that's a freshman here, has kind of caught my attention a little bit. But we'll see. And also, I think you may see Braylon Russell as an off returner or a returner occasionally. You know, just a big body, and you know, he's not afraid of contact. So I'm kind of interested to see how he does. We started working with off returner right now, but I'm excited. I think we got. You know, I was talking to Coach Pitt about this. I think we have better returners, better athletes to choose from this year than I've had in the 6 years I've been here. So I'm pretty excited about that.
You mentioned Scott's personality, kind of like Cam, and I think we talked about it in the spring, but is that something you identified in the recruiting process and like a reason maybe you guys gravitated toward him?
If I carry you back to we had a kid committed here at one time, and him and Scott come up to the same camp. And Scott just is almost like he was so locked in and so focused, but also talking to me and all that. He's almost in your face talking. And boy, after the camp, I said, man, he's really good. But golly, I don't know that personality. So, man, Cam was the same way because I'm going with his personality. I don't know. But when we had an opportunity to get Scott, that was one of the things for sure that drove me to him. I thought he was a kid that's a player's guy. The kids are going to love him in the locker room. You know, and I think also he's a guy that better handle a little bit of attention.
What about a gunner competition? I mean, who are some guys you're looking at right there so far?
That's so important. You know, last year, Tesla, he's really became a big-time gunner for us, as well as Broden. They did a nice job for us. But Mega Blake's right now would be in the lead for our gunner position. I think that on the other side, right now would be Akari Johnson. He's a kid that's played a little bit on defense, but he's got really good mechanics. So I'm really focusing on those two, but I am looking at a lot of other guys. So, but I'm excited because honestly, with the punt team, you know, if you hit the perfect ball, we're going to be fine. If you don't, you got to have guys that can go cover.
Speaking of punting, Bale had such a good year numbers-wise. What was it maybe in his makeup that allowed him to be that successful, and how can he be better this year?
Yeah, so me and Devin were talking yesterday. You know, his personality, his energy is a blessing and a curse, right? So as a blessing, our players love him on our team. He is a go-getter. He's aggressive. But also that personality, if you have a bad punt, if he doesn't manage it, you can get down, you know, because it's kind of real high, real low. So last year he was unbelievable for about 6 or 7 games. And then we had a little bit of a lull there for 2 games, and then he got back in his rhythms. And we've talked a ton about that. But I'm really pleased with him this morning time. And, I mean, he hit 3 or 4 5-0 hang times, which is really good in the punt world. But I think he can have a fantastic year. He works his tail off, you know, in a weight room. he's as good as a lot of positions in the weight room, just the way he runs and the way he lifts and stuff. And so I'm happy with him. I think he's going to have a great year. I wouldn't want anybody else back there.
I could go look up the numbers for what was a couple of low games. Do you remember who was
Yeah,
against?
Texas, he had a low. It wasn't the whole game, but he's had a punt or two that wasn't what quite he'd hit all year. And I can't whoever we played after Texas, and then we got back on track. So I can't remember the flow there, but it was 2 games there in midseason.
Okay, if I recall correctly, Sam mentioned one day up here recently that Starzik had like a 6-for-6 day. So to the best you can do it, what numbers are you talking about on his charting?
Yeah, so I'll give you 2 things. I always shoot for 80%. I want to be at 80%, but I always tell them this: if you can hit 80%, our football team's going to be fine. If you hit 90%, you can have an opportunity to go to and get a trophy at the end of the year, the Lou Graza trophy, right? So Cam Little, while he was here, he was over 80% every year, but last year in the NFL, he hit 93%, right? So that's what you're looking for. But so with him, I'm trying to have an 80% season, an 80% practice, and that takes a little bit of pressure off of him. And this is where I try to put pressure on him and take a little bit off is. Everything 49 yards and in, we want to try to make that field goal. Anything 50 and above, I always tell them it's a 50-50 deal. So take a little pressure off of them. But the last 2 years, we've been pretty good over 50, And but I don't want them to go out there thinking that, hey, I got to make every 50-yard field goal. I mean, obviously they're thinking that way, but I don't want the pressure of it carrying over to the next kick if they miss a long field goal.
Obviously, last year you had a couple older guys transfer in, and now you have a freshman at kicker. I just would imagine mentality is a big thing there just for a guy that's fresh into the SEC. Kind of what are you looking at when you do recruit a freshman that lets you know that there's somebody that you can count on right away?
Yeah, I think first of all, talent. What kind of leg talent does he have? And I think second of all is the personality, which I think he has that type of personality. Those are kind of the 2 main things I look for. And you try to go back and, in high school, some of these guys kick 6 or 7 field goals all year. It's just according to what team they're on, what their coach is trying to do. So you go to these camps, and for me, in the kicking and the punting world, if I can see a kid compete in a major camp, that's always a big deal. It's not AU basketball, but it's similar to it, right? You go and compete in a 3-day camp. How does he compete against the next best guy in the country? And I think that's important. And you think about Cam Little, and I'm talking a lot about him today, but he came out COVID year. So, I mean, really, I saw Cam one time. He's maxing out at 135 on the bench, right, in high school. That's the last time I saw him COVID hits. And then, so I really never got to watch him kick live, so I had to kind of do everything through video and through the camps.
Guys warming up from the corner today with the goalpost. I was just kind of curious what the purpose of that drill is.
You talking about kicking towards the goalpost?
Yeah, from the corner.
That's called field goal to accuracy, and we're trying to aim for the upright. It's hard to hit the upright, but if they do, you're doing some good things. But I always try to, we early in camp we're going to incorporate that. This is what we call. That was a period A we were doing this morning, and myself and the kids we kind of put together a routine that they're comfortable with. But anytime we kind of take the field goal to accuracy out once we get going in the season, but if we ever have any trouble with missing field goals, we'll go back to it. But that's all you're doing, trying to aim for the upright.
And I guess what are kind of the key metrics that you're deciding for between Scott or Blake? I mean, does it come down to just more makes? Is then distance more important? What's sort of the hierarchy of what you're looking at?
At the end of the day, it will come down to makes, but this is really good info for you here. We do a charting session, which, out of 100%, charting is worth about 20% of our grade, but we'll do a lot of those kicks. Then we have live kicks. Our live kicks is about 35% of your grade. And then we do scrimmage. Now, scrimmage, we don't get many opportunities there, right? Maybe 9, but that has a lot of weight. That's about a 45% weight. So anybody can kick, because they're going to be nervous for me a day or two, and then after a while, it's Coach Fallon, right? But in front of Pittman and the team and people rush it, that's always going to bring a different value, and then also in the stadium. So they can be good. I've had many guys really good at charting, and as soon as they get in front of Coach Pittman, they tank it, or they go live at the stadium, they struggle. So that's how we kind of break it down. But it is about the makes at the end of the day.
Imagine you're a big fan of like tight ends, safeties, linebackers, guys that can run and hit. Is there anybody, I guess, that stands out to you that, not a gunner, not a return guy, not a kicker punter, that just can kind of help you on all teams?
Yeah. if you look in the NFL, every tight end and every linebacker, that is the only position that every single guy that want to play on teams at that level. Here, where I'm excited is our tight end room, in my opinion, is so much better than it's ever been. So like Jaden Platt's a guy that's really impressed me, and he's a big guy, but I think he'll be able to help us on teams. Postka, I think he's a guy that will be able to help us on teams. Laster, has already helped us some on teams. If you flip over to the linebacker room, I mean, we've got depth that we just haven't had in the past. So I'm excited about that. Andrew Harris had come in from Central Florida. He played some teams there, but he's done a really good job for us. He plays fast. He's a great tackler. Obviously last year, Bradley Shaw last year had about 244 snaps for us on special teams as a freshman. That's a lot. So I'm hoping some more of these freshman linebackers, Tavian Wallace, will step up for some of the transfers we've had. The Smalls kid that is playing some safety linebacker for us. Whalen is another kid I like on team. So we've got some depth there that I'm really excited about it that we just haven't had in the past,
Obviously, it's Coach Pittman's call, what to do, kick, punt, go for it, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But how does your mind start working when the offense crosses 50-yard line and there's so many different possibilities that can come up? Where are you mentally at that point?
Right, so I'm typically yelling field goal / punt team. So I'm trying to get the punt team up, but I know, and I'm yelling punt really. We get inside the 40 or whatever it is our guy can do in the wind that day. Because in pregame, I'm going to go up to the kicker, hey, going north, what do you think? Going south, what do you think? That changes every week according to what the wind is, right? So if once we cross the 50, I'm still thinking punt, but once we're kind of getting on the verge there, what is it? Is the punt? What are we going to do this down? I'll get both units ready. So that's always kind of nerve-wracking there, trying to get 2 units out on the field.
Coach Pittman mentioned, and I've forgotten his name, maybe Zach, one of the long snappers.
Zach Haber.
You put on a partial scholarship.
Yep.
I wonder, is he a guy that you see for the future that could be a starter? Or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think he has a chance. I do. He's a kid that come from my community college, Butler Community College. He played his freshman year at New Mexico for a semester, and then their coach left, so he went to JUCO ball. He's from Durango, Colorado. Really good athlete. He's kind of a carbon copy of Ashton No, maybe a shade smaller, but we think he's got a real future ahead of him.
As the coach that's kind of been with Pittman the longest, I'm curious personally, what was it like watching him deal with the hip injury last year? How much better is it to see, the way he's moving around and impactful now?
I think you call him a warrior, really, last year. I mean, it was very painful. I think kind of come on right before the season. He wasn't expecting it, and he dealt with it all year. But probably the most impressive thing for me was after the last game, he goes in, I believe on that Monday, and has surgery. And then he comes into the building the next day, and he's meeting with kids. Because what he likes to do in December, as soon as our last game's over, is meet with all the kids, talk about NIL and all that stuff. And he came in that next day, and he got after it now. And he did it for the next 3 days, that Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And that was impressive because that's hard to do, sit there and you're dealing with kids and you're dealing with how you may feel about a kid, but also you're dealing with a hip injury. But I think he's doing a lot better, and I think that's I know a lot of coaches that's had hip injuries, and they all have dealt with it differently. And I thought he handled it as well as he could in the situation he was in.
You guys played against Cam last year, and he had a really good season as a returner. How much does that play into when he's in the portal? I like this kid, and what do you like about Cam?
Yeah, so we're always trying to look for good players. Obviously, kicker, punter, long snipers, but most of the time I go to Coach Pitts, hey, can we go get us a punt returner? And the answer is, well, we'll find somebody in who we're recruiting. Last year, they go find one. So I started looking in the portal, who's the best returner out there. And as they get in the portal, you start stacking them in order there. But if you watch Cam's film last year, he had 3 house calls in one season. One got called back, so it got nulled. But he was impressive there, did some good things. In our game, he had no returns in our game. So that was a good thing. But we were worried about him going into the game, concerned about him. So, but we feel like we've got a guy. And, in our league last year, Texas had gone and gotten a one-year guy. And obviously, Cam's a younger kid. And there was one other team in our league that went and got a 1-year guy. So we thought, that it might give us a chance to kind of boost us there in that game. And guys, at heart, I love to return punts. I mean, I've had a lot of good punt returns in my career, and I really hope this will be an exciting year for us in that area. That's what I'm hoping for. And they've had some good returners here.
I think he had a pretty good game catching the ball here, if I remember right.
He did. He sure did.
Kickoff. What's going on at the kickoff spot?
In terms of a kickoff guy, as of day 3, I think Blake Ford would sort of be in the lead for us. I mean, today he hit a 4.31, about 7 deep in the end zone. But Blake's a big kid. He's a 225-pound kid that is a field goal kicker as well. But I think his strength has been a kickoff guy.
Obviously, Scott was the number 1, number 2 kicker, depending on which recruiting service you look at. Just when you're recruiting a guy like that, how much do you kind of lean on the success that guys like Cam Little and Jake Bates have had in the NFL?
Yeah, that obviously helps a ton. Anytime you have guys in the NFL and you can point it out, it's a big deal, And I think that had a little bit to do with Scott coming here, obviously, and sometimes those guys, he may be at a camp and Cam might be there doing the NFL camp. Those camps, they kind of stack them, high school, college, NFL guys come in and kind of work together. And I'm sure they had an opportunity to talk at some point, but it certainly helps when you have a specialist at the next level. Yes, sir. Thank y'all very much.